This morning, we are going to be able to hear from our Guatemala Mission team that went in August. Is it a one-man team today? One-man job today. Walt's going to be giving us a presentation, and he'll tell you more about the team that went to Guatemala. The church was able to help them go. And it was an exciting time for them. Sometimes you hear stories when people go on to the mission field of any sort that maybe they broke down on the way, or maybe somebody got sick, or something happened, that little story you like to share into it. But I'm not going to steal Walt's thunder, but I'm glad with this trip that they took. There's a lot of praise and a lot of good reports to give off of that. So God was really with them. We appreciate them in their ministry there. So I'm going to let Walt be able to share with you a little bit about their trip to Guatemala. Walt?
All right, thank you. Wow, this mic is hot. Thank you, Bob, or Hattingers. Thank you for the lights. So thank you for the opportunity, obviously, to talk about Guatemala, something that obviously we're very passionate about. And we had such an awesome trip about 2 or 3 weeks ago now. I do like to move around, so I had to grab this other mic, sorry. I don't like to sit still. But we made a little PowerPoint and a couple videos, and nothing happened with transportation, and no one got sick, so I guess Jason said that. So if you're thinking about going next year, it was a great trip. But most of you, I think, in here know that we were full-time missionaries in 2017 and 2018 at a children's home in Guatemala. It's a home for kids that are physically abused, sexually abused, abandoned, neglected, you name it, pretty much anything bad. We were dorm parents to a small dorm called Cometas, which just means comets. And we had about 16 boys that lived with us. They were all 7, 8, and 9-year-olds. And so you can imagine what that was like. But all those stories are for another time. We're going to talk about this trip that we just took. So let's go ahead to the next slide. So as you can see, arriving at the airport in Guatemala, probably at most countries, when you arrive and get on the bus, all your luggage goes on top of the bus, all right? And it's roped down. So we've never had a suitcase that has fallen off, so you don't have to worry about that if you're planning on going. But you can see it's a nice bus. It's about no traffic, probably 30 minutes for the children's home. With traffic, maybe an hour and a half. But it's only one road to get there, one highway. But we'll go to the next slide. So our team this year consisted of me and my wife, Randy, and our youngest son, Nathan. And we had Larry and Sue Oakes, who most of you, I think, probably remember. They're from Wadesboro. They go to Hopewell Baptist. And just to point of reference, Larry's 80 years old. So if you think you're too old to go on a mission trip, get that out of your mind. So Larry's 80, and I think Sue's wife is 79. And then they had a young girl that used to go to church with them at First Baptist Wadesboro, Maria, that went with us. And I think she goes to, is it Deep Creek Baptist? I think that's what the name of it is. It's in Wadesboro as well. But that was our team, and that's a couple pictures. One before we went on outreach, and one at a big tourist place. It's called The Cross, except you don't see the cross in the picture, you just see the bottom. But we'll go to the next slide. So I just want to kind of had some old pictures. So this is basically our dorm where we lived. So the house on the left, I should say the picture on the left is from 2017 when we moved in. And then that was a couple weeks ago on the right. It's changed a little bit, but not much. But that little house straight ahead with the door, that was our apartment. I call it an apartment because it was only about 600 square feet. But and then the whole hall or dorm on the right is where all the kids live. So the living room, bathroom, were 2 of the girls that live with us and the kids. So let's go to the next slide. So while we were there, like I said, we had 16 boys that lived with us. The picture on the left is from 2017, right in front of our dorm. And then the picture on the right is actually the 4 boys who were in our dorm who were still at the children's home. They're all, I think, 13 and 14 years old now. And it was really cool to get to just to talk to them and love on them. And obviously, they have a lot of memories with us. We lived there for 2 years, as well as our children, Jordan and Nathan. But so we'll go to the next slide. So a typical afternoon, what it looks like when you go to Casa, usually in the afternoon when the kids are out of school, you play a lot of soccer. So if you're a big soccer fan, this is a good place for you. They also like to play cards, a game called Speed that I never played until a couple years ago, and I'm apparently not a great Speed player. But they like to play cards, and on the bottom right-hand corner, while we lived in Guatemala, I would always teach scripture memorization with our boys, and it's been really cool to go back to get an opportunity to let them memorize scripture. So Romans 10:9 was last week, and every kid in that dorm by Friday knew it, so it was pretty cool to get an opportunity to do that again. So let's go to the next slide. So through the support of our church and then the other two churches that were recognized or represented, from Wadesboro, we were able to get a lot of money to do different activities for the dorms, which is something that was really, really awesome to be a part of. We were able to buy ice cream for every dorm that was there, which is about, I think, 11 dorms. I could be wrong, but I think that's right. So every dorm had ice cream on different nights. And we had like sprinkles and syrup and all this stuff, like they were going to Dairy Queen. So it was pretty cool. The kids loved it. I'll go to the next slide. That's some more pictures of all the kids eating ice cream, and all of them wanted more, of course, but it could only get 2 or 3 scoops, but we'll go to the next slide. So we also were able to buy cakes for the school staff. There's a school at the children's home where all the kids go on their property, kindergarten through, preschool through 12th grade. And so we were able to buy cake and soda for the school, all the office staff at Casa Hallelujah, and also the baby dorm. And that's Nathan. He's feeding one of the babies. An interesting fact on that, Nathan hates chocolate. So if you didn't know that, my youngest son does not like chocolate, and he was feeding the baby chocolate cake, so it was very interesting. Sacrifice there. So, all right, let's go to the next slide. One of the dorms at the children's home is called Casa Genesis. It is a dorm for kids that have kidney failure. So all these kids are on dialysis, either hemodialysis or peritoneal dialysis. It is the only children's home, at least when we were there, the only children's home in Central America, not just Guatemala, Central America, that actually took care of kids that had kidney failure, where their parents or their grandparents could not afford any treatment. So unfortunately, a lot of these kids are not on a transplant list. Even since 2017, when we've been there, there's been about 4 or 5 children that we knew personally that passed away under the age of about 18 or 19 years old. So we were able to buy them grilled chicken at it's kind of like a KFC. It's called Pollo Campero, but anyway, we were able to buy them lunch one afternoon and got to spend some time with them. I always love spending time with those kids. And one of the things is you never know if it's going to be the last time you ever get to see them. We've had numerous times where we have played and made memories and did things with these kids, and I say kids, but some of them are teenagers. And the next time I go back to Casa, they're not there. They have passed away or they went home. So it's a tough thing, but for that period of time where they're at Casa, they obviously receive love from everyone there, and they also have an opportunity to accept Christ in church, and that's 2 big things that they promote there. So let's go to the next slide. So Mike and Dottie Clark are the founders of Casa Hallelujah. They've been there, it's probably going on almost 40 years now. And Mike is the guy, the second on the left, and his wife is in the neon green or yellow sweater. They're also 80 years old, approaching 80 years old. So they've been down there a good while. They've had probably, if I had to guess, probably over 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 kids that have been through their children's home since they've been there. So we took them out to lunch. That was part of our activity, and the money that we raised and other churches that they raised. We're trying to take them out and just show them some love. They don't get out much with other teams. They kind of stay in the children's home most of the time. So that was a cool opportunity. So let's go to the next slide. We were able to buy piñatas for several of the dorms as well. The picture on the left is one of the kids, Stephanie, in dialysis, in the dialysis house. And then on the right was a piñata for the baby dorm. They love hitting piñatas, so I know we don't do that much here, but we obviously filled it with a bunch of candy for the baby dorm. The kids in dialysis could not eat candy, so we just, Randy filled it with just activities and crafts that they can do inside their dorm, which they love. So let's go to the next slide. Usually during your stay at Casa, there's always work to do. So painting has become one of the biggest things lately that when we've been down there. And we had the opportunity to paint the shower, the bathroom, and above the sinks, and actually the dorm that we lived in, which is pretty cool. It has not been painted since we've been in there in 2017. And if you know what 16 boys do to a bathroom and a shower area, it needed a lot of painting. And we were able to put a primer, which was waterlock. So a lot of these buildings are center block buildings. So we primed it and then painted it. And so everybody got to participate in that. Let's go to the next slide. Unfortunately, most of the women had more paint on their clothing than the walls, so the guys kind of stuck to that job, but they did help. So we'll go on the next slide. And that's kind of the finished work. It actually looked pretty good. I don't know how long I'm going to stay that way, maybe a couple months, but it did look good when we left. So let's go to the next slide. So I thought this was funny because my youngest son, Nathan, had never seen a payphone before, and they have a bunch of them in small towns. And so I'm sure some of the kids here, if you're younger than a certain age, probably have never seen a payphone either. But if you are homesick, you can call home. You just put in a quarter, call collect. So, but on a serious note, you do have, we have AT&T service, but I'm sure if you have Verizon or any other carrier, it's probably the same. You can pay $10 a day, and you have all the data you want. You can call home, text, send a video, FaceTime, whatever you want to do. If you go with us in the future. So, all right, let's go to the next slide. So one of the coolest things, one of the most important things too, for me, and the most, I guess, rewarding things, I should say, is going on an outreach when we're there. Usually one day we'll go to a community or a small town or a small village if we raise enough support to provide things like bunk beds, food, water filters, which are those 5-gallon buckets, Bibles, stoves. It could be anything. We partner with a ministry, a guy that we've known for several years now. His name's Adam, who is actually an American, but he's married to a Guatemalan. He has a separate ministry in Guatemala. And the funny thing is, most Guatemalans carry stuff on their cars like that. So that was 4 beds, by the way, we had on top of a Tahoe. And that's not the highest by any means. Jason's been there several times with me. He can attest to that. Some of the trucks kind of look cartoonish. There's so many things piled up on top. But it was very interesting getting that vehicle to where we were going. There was 2 times that we didn't think the bed was actually going to make it down the street. So I got a video in a second. You guys can see how close it was. But we got to do that one day, which was such an awesome opportunity. Just a quick story on one of the bunk beds. We met a lady who knew missionaries were coming, but she did not know that she was getting a bunk bed. She had 5 children that slept on a full bed and a twin bed. So there were 7 people, her and her husband and 5 kids, a full bed and a twin bed. So just picture that. So we were able to bless that family with a bunk bed, and you'll see that in the video in a second as well. And just an awesome opportunity just to be a blessing and to meet an urgent physical need right in front of you. The lady obviously thanked us. She was crying most of the time. Had lived a pretty hard life. And we'll go to is the next slide? I might go ahead and show the video. Let's go ahead and show the outreach video. This is just a quick outreach video of our time there. that lady was a Christian, obviously. She was worshiping. She wanted to sing a song when we went into her house and gave her a water filter and food. I know Randy probably doesn't want to say anything, but Nathan, do you want to say anything before I talk about it? Yes? No? You come up here if you want to. Okay, he's good. I wanted to give him the opportunity. It's up to you, buddy. Okay, he's good. Nathan had a really good time. You know, it was cool because when we moved down there in 2017, so Jordan was 9 and Nathan was 4. So when we left, you know, Nathan hasn't been there in 5 years, so obviously most people didn't recognize him because he's a lot bigger than he was at 5 years old or 6 years old. But he had a great time and really didn't skip a beat with any of the kids. But let's go back to the PowerPoint. A couple more things I want to talk about. We do have one more video too, but I'll show that at the end. Our girls that live with us, I put Miss Hijas, that's Spanish for our daughters, but these girls, if we wouldn't have been able to make it in Guatemala if it weren't for these girls. Like I said earlier, if you can imagine 16 boys every day between bathing, eating, homework, playing soccer, you name it, anything that a mom and dad would do. If we didn't have the help of these girls, we wouldn't have survived. And so thankful and blessed to be able to even continue 5 years now past our relationship with our girls. These girls, you know, basically call us mom and dad. And the funny thing is, since 2018, they've never wanted to do a video. And so I asked them this week, and I said, you know, would you want to talk, if you typed it in Google Translate, would you read it in English if you wanted to make a video? I was telling them I was going to talk at our church this morning. And crazy enough, they said, yeah, we'll do it. And I couldn't believe it because 5 years, they've never done anything. So the video you'll see in a minute, it is a little broken English, it's hard. It would be like saying, hey, would you type something in Spanish and Google Translate, stick your phone in front of your face and read it in Spanish, okay? So it's about that hard. They did a great job with it. But just a side note, a little bit, I won't go deep into their story, but so Evelyn was around 10 years old when she came to Casa Hallelujah. Does not know her mom or dad. She was abused by her grandmother, and she's been there ever since. Both girls are 24 years old now. Doris, which is on the left, was abused badly by her father at about 1.5 years old. And so I won't go into detail on that, but she's been there since she was about 1.5 years, 2 years old. So she doesn't remember a lot of that, but so she's lived in a children's home for 23 years of life. So we'll go to the next slide. One of the coolest presents that we got when we were there after a couple days, Evelyn and Doris, that's their names, said, hey, we bought you something, and I want to give it to you. And it was 2 hoodies, and it had our names on the front, and then on the back said, love you, Mom, and I love Papa. And just a really, really awesome gift. Unfortunately, it was Guatemalan size, so I can't wear it, neither can Randy. But Guatemalan size is a little bit smaller. Like their extra large is more like a medium. But I am going to keep it. We'll have to make up something to show it off. But it was such a cool moment. And that is actually our kitchen in our house where we lived. So we spent a lot of time in there. So let's go to the next slide. You know, I could talk. I told Jason, he was like, you got about 15 minutes. And I was like, man, you know, I could probably talk the whole time. But I'm trying to keep it light. But we do want to thank you for your support, for Robertdale's support, for your prayers, for financial support. We had such an awesome trip. It was probably one of the best one-week trips that I've ever been to Guatemala. That middle picture there was one of the kids we met that we gave a bunk bed to. He was reading the Gideon New Testament in Spanish. I'm not sure if he understood it, but we gave it to him anyway. But if you're thinking about going to Guatemala, we are obviously talking about going back next year. You have plenty of time to think about it, okay? Plenty of time to pray about it. You'll be safe. It doesn't matter how young you are, how old you are. If you want to go, just be thinking about that because we do want to plan a trip for Robert L. Baptist for next year. And I just pray, that we have a passion and a desire and a vision as a church to be involved in missions, guys, in local missions and statewide missions, and also missions international. The Great Commission is not a suggestion, it's a command to go out and proclaim the good news and the gospel of Jesus Christ to all the nations. And I pray we can go to many other places, even more than Guatemala. And that's what I want to do. So I just pray that is our vision, that's our direction as we move forward at Robert L. Baptist. And like I said, if you're thinking about going next year, just keep it on your radar. We don't know the month yet, but we will let you know. But I want to end it with these videos of our girls. I was very proud of them. Like I said, they talked a little bit about them and about Casa Aleluya and what they do. It is a little hard to understand. We tried to get some caption and some subtitles underneath, but it was very hard. The video kind of changed it. But we'll end with that. Thank you.
My name is Doris Lozano. I am 24 years old. I have been a part of Casa Aleluya since I was 1 year old, and it has been incredible to be in this place because I have been able to meet Papi and Mami, who gave us love and showed how to help other people. Casa Aleluya has meant a lot to me because Papi and Mami have taught us about God. They have given us a study to have a better life, and through them we have able to meet great people. I work at Casa Genesis with kids. I like spending time with them, learning every day from them, from the treatment. I be devoted myself to these last few years to see where I want to be in my life, and I realized that I like this area, and I'm going to study nursing next year so I can help them as a nurse.
Hello everyone, my name is Evelyn. I am 24 years old. I'm studying the college right now. I have lived half of my life in a children's home. I entered when I was 10 years old. My childhood was very difficult since I live in an aggressive environment and with people who mistreat me, physical, and which I had to leave home and spend these years in the children's home. During these years, I have tried to be a better person for others and that they do not suffer the same as experience, and began volunteer in the house where I grew up, supporting people who need me and need to be heard and loved. Over the years, I met two great people who were missionaries in Guatemala, supporting a small children's house, who now call parents Papa Wally and Mama Randy. They were a great example to follow and continue to give the same conditional love to each of the boys as they once did. Half of my life have grew up with balls and God's way to be a good person and be of help to others. That children's house was founded by two great Americans who we all call Daddy and Mommy, who are the ones who guide us day by day to the way of God and the salvation. And we have the opportunity to be able to talk about God to others and they can be saved.
There are no words to describe how important they are to me. From the first day they accepted me at home, I never felt so special with them. They have helped me spiritually as emotionally. When they left Casa Aleluya, it was very hard to assimilate. Even when they come to visit, it's hard to say goodbye. Only I want to say is thank you for the love you give us and all the work to do for come to casa, and I love them so much.